continue to look at our study we just began last week on let go. Letting go of the things of the world and hanging on to God is the focus. And as we kind of started looking at this study, it became very clear that Abraham and Sarah are excellent examples both of how to do this and how not to do this. So last week, we looked at a great example of where they did do it, right? God said, I want you to leave your family, your home, your country, your people, and just start heading south. Just go to the land of Canaan, and I will take care of you, right? I will bless you, and just let them go. In fact, let's go take a look at that so we get a little run up to tonight. Genesis chapter 12, starting in verse 1. Genesis chapter 12, verse 1 says, Now the Lord had said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee. Now that's a big ask. Because again, these are very nomadic people. Your family is your security, right? That's his inheritance. That's the land. That's his protection from other people who may want to come and take all of your stuff. Right? It was everything to them. And for God to come and say, leave them was a big deal. And basically what he's saying, let go of what? The world's ideas of security. Where you are safe and taken care of and have a future. Right? It was all wrapped up in family. And he said, you got to leave them. And go where? Verse 2, And I will make of thee a great nation, I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing, and I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee, and in thee shall all the families of the earth be blessed. So Abraham departed, as the Lord had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him, and Abram was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. And Abraham took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance they had gathered, and the souls of they had gotten in Haran, and they went forth to go into the land of Canaan, and into the land of Canaan they came. Okay? So, get out, and he went, right? Letting all go. Now, this leads to a question. Why did he do that? What would make somebody leave all of that security and go someplace else like that? Now, some would say, well, I would do it because God made a big promise here, right? I will bless you. I will make you a great nation. You will be a great land. I will give you possessions. But is that really why he went? Because of what the security he would get in this world. See, that's what we sometimes want to replace it with. That's where we get into problems. Okay, Lord, I will leave that security if you give me another worldly security. Right? I will leave the family over here if you give me wealth over here so I can be secure. I will leave this over here if you will give me this of this world over here that I can take. Did he promise any of that? Not really. He said, go to a land and I will be with you. In fact, Hebrews tells us quite a bit more about what Abraham was thinking. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 11, verse 8. This is often referred to as the faith chapter, where the writers of Hebrews kind of lay out some of the great people in history and how they showed faith in God. And of course, Abraham and Sarah were a couple of them. And in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 8 says, By faith, Abraham, when he was called to go out into a place which he should after receive for inheritance, what? Obeyed. And he went out not knowing where he was going, right? Didn't know what this land, didn't know what it was going to look like, didn't know how secure it was, didn't know what it was, but he said, I'm going to give you some land, right? I'm going to take you. Was it a secure place? Good place? Don't know. Verse 9. By faith he sojourned in the land of promise as in a strange country, dwelling in tabernacles with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. For he looked for a city which has foundations, whose builder and maker is who? God. That's a wonderful statement, right? See, he left the security of family where they were kind of settled down, right? They moved from Evidently his father had been told, you didn't go to Canaan. He didn't get there. They came down and they settled in an area, and they were going to settle there and not move around. That's where they were going to be. That was going to be their inheritance and their land, right? And they called it Haran, and that was their place. He was told to leave that and go, not so that he would have a place. In fact, you look at Abraham's life, what did they do a lot? Move. They all seem to be moving around, right? Not on a steady place, not a secure place, not some place like that, and not of this world. But what place was he looking forward to? A place with a sure foundation. A foundation built by who? God. And that's what we have to get in our mind. When we say let go of the world's idea of security, that means then grabbing onto God's idea of security. And you know what God's idea of security is? Him. Just Him, right? No matter what you get in this world, no matter what you have to stand on this world, whatever you have and own in this world, that doesn't matter as long as you have who? As long as you have God. And Abraham, according to Hebrews chapter 11, he and Sarah understood that. I'm not going there so I can have bigger land and more stuff and better security and a city with walls around it and things like that because God's going to bless me. It was what? God's going with me, so I will go. And I know through all of this, I have a home with Him. By the way, do we have a home with Him? So can we do the same thing? Make the same calculation? I will leave the security of whatever this world has to offer, and I will hold on to God. Will He take care of us? Yes, He's saying. God will take care of you, right? So He will take care of us. So that we looked at last week. And did He do a good job? We have this exercise we do with the kids. We go through Abraham and Sarah's life, and we go through the things, and we make them give them a grade. A through F. So what would you give their grade here?
A.
Hey, very good. How did they get an A, right? You ready for not an A? Sometime after that, let's go to Genesis chapter 12 again and go to the next verse, verse 10.
I just noticed that this next story is the first time Abraham opens his mouth in the account in the Bible. Interesting coincidence.
That's right. When he opens his mouth, dumb stuff. Is that what they were trying to say? Is this something about men here? That's right. Genesis chapter 12, verse 10. And there was famine in the land. Now, if you're Abraham, what's your first thought? If you're you, and you were told to leave a place where you had security and food and things like that, and you go to a new land, and you get there, and sometime after that, all of a sudden, there is no food. There's no water. There's no rain. Everything's dying. There's famine in the land. What is your first thought? Why'd you bring me here? There's no security here. There's no life here. There's nothing here for me, right? And that starts bringing up what? Doubts. Doubts into what? Is God my security? Does God know me? This happens to all of us. How many humans we have here today? We all got humans. And so that starts going through his head. So what does he do? And Abram went down into Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was grievous in the land. Boy, this sets off a whole system, doesn't it? When there's famine in Israel, where does everybody evidently go? Egypt. Even 3 generations later, they do that, right? And they go down to Egypt because they have food there. Verse 11. And it came to pass when he, Abraham, was come near to enter into Egypt, that he said unto Sarai his wife, Behold now, I know that you are a fair woman to look upon. That is so sweet. Isn't that nice? How many of you wives would like your husbands to say that every once in a while? Now keep in mind, how old is she at least? At least 65. He's 75, at least. I mean, we're not really sure exactly how much later this is and they're sojourning in the land, but at least 65 and 75, right? And he looks at her and says, you're hot. You're smoking, man. This is a problem. Her beauty was so great that it was a problem. What was the problem? Verse 12. Therefore it shall come to pass when the Egyptians shall see you, that they will say, this is his wife, and they will kill me, but they will save you alive. You are so pretty, they're going to kill for you. And who are they going to kill for you? Me. This is bad. So what did they come up with? Oh boy, they come with good plans together, don't they? That's Abraham and Sarah, good plans. Say therefore, I pray thee, thou art my sister, that it may be well with me for thy sake, and my soul shall live because of you. Now, what's the problem? Why are we going to give them less than an A on this? Because they are not letting go of what? Fears. His fear is that the Egyptians will kill him. Now let me ask you something. Has God told him that he would not be killed? Yes. Yeah, maybe a little while earlier, but let's go back up to chapter 12, verse 1, right? Now the Lord had said unto Abram, right? It's not like he heard it from his father or his uncle or something. God told Abraham, get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred and from thy father's house unto land that I will show you, and I will make thee a great nation. Now how many kids does he have right now at 75 years old? Zero. What kind of nation is he at this point? Zero. Is he going to be a nation? Who says so? God, so what is he worried about? Fears, though, overtake him, right? And can fear sometimes overtake us? We see the situation around. We see all the, yeah, we know the promises of God, but, and again, by the way, they have famine in the land. Did God know about that? Did God realize that was going to happen? They realized that I'm going to have to come down here? Does God really know what's going on? Does God know what's going on? Does he know everything going on? Yes. Is he in complete control? Will he keep his promises? Yes. And he says, I'll make a great nation. I will bless you and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. I can't do that if you go down to Egypt and die. Okay? That's not the way it works, but that's the way his mind works. And that's the way our mind works sometimes. We get so worried and so fearful, and we got to let those go. Because God gives promises, doesn't he? And we have to trust those promises, and we'll look at those in a minute. In fact, what kind of problems did he get him into? Verse 14. And it came to pass that when Abram was come into Egypt, the Egyptians beheld the woman that she was very fair. So he was correct. Right? The princes also of Pharaoh saw her and commended her before Pharaoh. And the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house. She was so beautiful, it wasn't like, you almost see the princes like, well, she's too beautiful for us. Pharaoh will kill us if we take her. She's so beautiful, the Pharaoh deserves her. Okay, let's be honest. How many want to see what Sarah looks like? I'm sure it's just not because she was exotic. I mean, different than everybody else. I mean, this is an amazing statement. I mean, she must have been something else, right? So they brought her into Pharaoh's house, and he entreated Abram well for her sake. And he had sheep and oxen and he-asses and men servants and maidservants and she-asses and camels. He loaded them up as a dowry to the brother to have her. Now, again, if you're Abraham, you're like, that worked out pretty well. Now I'm loaded, I'm blessed, and I'm alive, right? Who's he forgetting in this equation?
Sarah?
Yeah. Come on, this society, but even the Egyptians knew this was wrong, all right? You can't take somebody else's wife that way. You can't just pay them off like this, and that's the problem. And you've got about God, too, right? Did God have a plan here? And his plan, as told to him, was to make a nation out of Abraham. Now, he's going to make it clear later, it is to make a nation out of him and Sarah. Right? So this selling her off isn't going to do for God's plan, right? God has a plan, and God keeps his promises, and they allowed fear to overcome them. And what did it lead to? Well, it wasn't very good for Pharaoh, verse 17. And the Lord plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. Now, it doesn't say what they were. I think it'd be cool if it was, blood water, frogs, flies, locusts, boils, darkness. That'd be awesome. It doesn't say what it is. I'm know if he did like a little preview for everybody as to what was going to happen later on, but he was plagues. And did they figure it out quickly? Yeah. His advisors came to the quick conclusion that something was wrong here. Verse 18, and the Pharaoh called Abram and said, what is this that thou hast done unto me? Why didst thou not tell me that she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister, so I might have taken her to me to wife? Now therefore, behold thy wife, take her and go away. And I find this amazing. He allowed his fear. And we do this. How many are guilty of this? Worst case scenario. Right? This is the worst thing that can happen. It's going in, I'm just going to assume everything's going to go horrible. And everything's going to go bad, and the worst thing in the world's going to happen. So they're going to see you, they're going to think I'm your husband, and they're going to kill me, and then everything's going to be terrible. What actually happened was he brought a plague on Pharaoh. And Pharaoh still didn't do what? Still didn't kill him. In fact, look at verse 20. And Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him that they send him away and his wife and all that he had. They didn't take his stuff. And most people read that as, remember all those gifts he gave them? Let him keep those too. So, what was he fearful for?
No reason.
No reason at all, because who's taking care of him? Who said he will bless him? And what about you? Kind of reminds me of another story. Matthew chapter 8. And it's one of many stories we can go to about the disciples. When Jesus met his disciples various times, what did he tell them he would do? Make them what? Fishers of men, right? He's going to use them in mighty, mighty ways. So let me ask you, why were they ever fearful? If Jesus is with them and Jesus says he's going to bless them and use them in mighty ways, why were they ever fearful? I don't know. Why are we? In fact, look at this example. Matthew chapter 8, verse 23. And when he was entered into a ship, his disciples followed him. And behold, there arose a great tempest in the sea, insomuch that the ship was covered with the waves. But he was asleep. I always love that part. You know? Is he worried? Does he know what's going on? Yeah. But no worries. And his disciples came to him, awoke him, saying, Lord, save us. We perish. In fact, another gospel says, don't you care that we perish, right? And why are they afraid? Well, they've forgotten. They've forgotten who he is, right? Why is Jesus asleep? Because he remembers who he is. And yes, he's a man. And can he die, by the way? Yes, he's going to die on the cross. He can die, but what does he know? God has a plan. His Father has a plan for him. So he's not worried, right? How many times did they try to take Jesus and stone him or throw him off a cliff or do something like that, and he would just walk away? Why? Why was he not afraid? Because he knew God's plan, right? He knew what was going to happen, and God had a purpose for him, so there's nothing that can get in that way. Should the disciples have felt the same way? God says he's going to use us, so we can't die at least for 3.5 years. Right? Because God's got a plan for us, right? In fact, what did he say? Verse 26. And Jesus said to them, why are you fearful, ye of little faith? Then he arose and rebuked the winds and the sea, and there was a great calm. But the men marveled, saying, what manner of man is this, that even the winds and sea obey him? God can do anything, right? And if he's made a promise, will he do it? Doesn't matter what we perceive, no matter what crazy scenario we can come up in our head to cause us to fear, will God take care of us? And that's something, so what would you give them for this, for letting go of their fears? What grade? Get an A here, good job. What do we get here? How harsh do you want to be? D? I like D. Anybody want to do better than D? D, yeah. But is it understandable?
Yeah.
Given what we go through, is it understandable? We can come up with scenarios, we can come up with fearful things, we can come up with things to be fearful. What we forget is what? God. Let go of the fears and the worries and the scenarios and things like that and hold on to God. We're going to be okay?
I think the disciples don't deserve a D, but definitely Abraham does.
Yes, right. Yeah, we're not going to do that. I'm going to give them a C.
I mean, it was a minute.
Yeah, moment of fear. This was a pre-planned, went on for a long time.
Yeah.
Time for it to get back to Pharaoh, him to come get him, give him stuff, and then figure it out after a plague came. This has got to be weeks. Yeah, the problem.
I guess it never really struck me before that Abraham and Sarah, they assume the worst of the Egyptians for some reason, in the assumption that they make, and then that's proven to be very much wrong. Like, the Egyptians are like super decent about the whole thing, and that's just never struck me before. And I think in our fear we can think the worst of other people.
Worst of the worst, and again, notice that it was after the plagues.
Yeah.
That the Egyptians were like,
Yeah.
we're not messing with this guy's God.
True.
Which again, should that have been written down somewhere that maybe later on when there's a guy named Joseph comes along, and then generations later, a guy Moses shows up, that when there's plagues, you don't mess with that guy's God?
Yeah.
Again, how in control is God, right? But yeah, don't let our fears get in the way of just trusting God. Let go of the fears and the worries. In fact, let's look at some of the great promises. Their promise was, hey, you're going to be a great nation, right? That's not necessarily a promise God has made any of us that I'm aware of, right? But has God promised to take care of you? In fact, let's look at a couple of them. Let's go to Matthew chapter 10, since we're in Matthew. Matthew chapter 10, starting in verse 28. And this one's very much in line with what Abraham's going through. He feared what people could do to him. They found out he's white, they're going to kill me, right? Now this one's more in the context of going and confessing Jesus as Christ, right? And very unlikely somebody's going to kill you over that. But they may do other things, right? They may persecute you, they may laugh at you, they may not be your friends anymore, they may do all kinds of stuff. And in some countries, yeah, they may actually even kill you over that, right? Certainly, Jesus knows that his disciples are going to be in tremendous persecution for claiming Christ, right? And what does he say to them in verse 28? And fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a farthing? And one of them shall not fall on the ground without your Father, or your Father knowing? Now I like this, because he goes from, yeah, they can kill you, which is kind of scary. Right? Don't worry if they kill you. Worry about the guy who kills you after they kill you, right? But his main point is not that. His main point is God is there. He knows everything you're going through. A bird cannot fall to the ground except that the Father knows about it. In fact, he goes further. But the very hairs of your head are all numbered. You ever looked at them under a microscope? There's actually a little number on it. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. That'd be awesome. He knows every hair on our head at any moment. How well does he know you? Yeah. Fear you not, therefore. You are more valuable than sparrows, than many sparrows. Right? So does he care about what you're going through? Does he know what you're going to go through? Did he know what Abraham and Sarah were going to go through when they went into Egypt? Did he said, this is my wife and she's beautiful? Knew exactly what he was going to go through, right? Also knew what they were going to go through when they didn't trust him, right? He knows everything. So don't do the worst case scenario. Just trust God, right? Because does he know what's going to happen? What if it is the worst case scenario? Then fearing just made all the difference in the world. No, it didn't. Fearing didn't change. In fact, what does he say? Verse 32, whoso therefore shall confess me before men, will I confess also before my Father which is in heaven. Right? So go out there and confess, because he knows. And what if they do kill you? Well, then we go where? For me to live as Christ, to die is what? Gain. Well, if they hate me? Well, that's okay. God loves you. Right? They'll tell you, well, they take all my stuff. Well, our security is not in that stuff. So trust in God, right? Do it. Go. Spread the gospel. Let people know. Be upfront about it, because, hey, God will take care of you, right? In fact, let's keep going. Philippians chapter 4. Philippians chapter 4, starting in verse 10. Paul is writing to this little church in Philippi who was under tremendous persecution. I mean, the people of that city were really going after the Christians, even putting some to death, throwing people in prison. They were going through a tough time. Yet, even then, that little church in Philippi still pulled together a gift that Paul could then use for his ministry, but also to take back to Jerusalem. Because they were trusting who? They were trusting God, right? They weren't shying away from their responsibilities and like that. It's like that. They could take away everything, but we have something now, so let's give, right? And look what it says in verse 10. But I rejoice in the Lord greatly that now at the last your care of me hath flourished again, wherein you were also careful, but you lacked the opportunity. So before, sometimes they didn't have anything. But now they have something, so are they going to give? Yeah, this is wonderful. Verse 11, not that I speak in respect of one. I'm not saying that because I need you to take care of me. I'm not saying that to guilt you into giving me more because I'm trusting in you. Who do we put our trust in for our needs? God. That's what he says. For I have learned in whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content. I know both how to be abased, laid low, at the lowest level, and I also know how to abound, to have great much. Everywhere in all things I am instructed both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. I can do all things through Christ which strengtheneth me. We can get through anything, right? So where's the fear come in? What's going to happen? Oh, I may be abased. Who's going to help us? God. I'm going to go through this and I'm going to have much. Who do we think? God. Oh, they're going to persecute me. Okay, who's going to be with me? Well, I'm going to see a lot of people saved. Who do I give thanks to? So it doesn't matter. Who's the central point in all of those? God is. And is God with us? So don't worry about it, right? Don't fear. In fact, look at verse 19. But my God shall supply all your need according to his riches and glory by Christ Jesus. That's a promise, isn't it? If we have a need, will he take care of it? Will he take care of it in the way you want him to? Maybe not. In the timing you want him to? Likely not. But will he take care of you? Or will he ever say, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have enough for you? What are we talking about here? God. He always has enough, right? He always has exactly what we need when we need it. So trust him, right? So put your trust in him. Confess him. Put your trust in him. There's no fear in any of those, is there? No matter what's going on, because God is the one we're holding on to, right? In fact, look at Hebrews chapter 13. Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5. Verse 5. Let your conversation, your way of life, the way you go through life, the way you interact, be without covetousness. Always wanting something more. Why would we want something more? Because we think it will give us what? Security. And if we don't have it, we then what? Fear. Or we fear somebody taking it away, right? This is what we go through constantly. He says, don't live a life of covetousness, but be content with such things as you have. For God has said, I will never leave you, nor what? Forsake you. Isn't that enough? Isn't that the same promise he made Abraham? Go in the land and I will show you. I will be with you. I will bless you. Will God be with us every step of the way? So where's the fear? Should we have a fear of losing? Should we have a fear of not having? No, because who will take care of us? God will take care of us. Finally, Romans chapter 8. These great promises. Romans chapter 8. Romans chapter 8, starting in verse 28. Romans 8:28 says, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love God and to them who are called according to his purpose. You ever heard that verse before? How many think Abraham could have used that? Even if he had, he probably wouldn't have used it. Because we always have it, and sometimes we don't use it. No matter what's going on, it will all be not just okay, it will be what, according to this? Good. It will all work together for good. For those who are loved of God and love God. Right? Those were his children. He will take care of us. For whom he did foreknow, he also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his Son. Let's stop there for a second. This is God's plan for you, isn't it? Has he got an eternal plan for you? Is he going to see it through? I mean, he told Abraham, oh, you're going to be blessed. You're going to be a nation. I'm going to make a nation of you. You're going to make you my children. That's wonderful. You know what he says to you? He's going to make you into the image of his Son, Jesus Christ. He's going to glorify you and make you perfect to live with him forever and ever. How many are okay with that promise? Therefore, what should we fear? That he might be the firstborn among many brethren. So Christ is the firstborn among many who put their faith in God. Moreover, whom he did predestinate, them he also called, and whom he called, them he also justified, made righteous in his eyes by the forgiveness of sins. And whom he also justified, them he also glorified. I always love that it's past tense, because it's already done. The promise is fulfilled. Jesus Christ died, and all who put their faith in him are already made right and already will be glorified, right? It's a done deal. What shall we say to these things? If God be for us, who can be against us? As Abraham was riding into Egypt, what should he have remembered? God is with me. Not even Pharaoh could be against me, right? God's got a plan for me in this life. Nobody can stop it. What about Satan? Satan can stop it, can he? No. No. He that spared not his own Son, but delivered him up for us all, how shall he not with him also freely give us all things? Anything we need, he will give. I always love that. I always think when I read that, I think of a conversation in heaven, where God the Father is sitting there, and God the Son, Jesus Christ, is at his right-hand side, right? And a request comes up, God the Father, I really need this. And God the Father says, that's just asking for too much. And God the Son turning to the Father saying, you kidding me? You killed me, but that's asking too much? Right? If he gave his Son for us, what else was too much to expect from him? He gives all, right? And that's his promises, right? Is there hope here? Is there peace here? Is there joy here in all situations? Yeah. There's no fear here. Let go of the fear and hold on to God and his great promises. In fact, let's look at what Jesus himself said. Matthew chapter 6. He said everything I just said so much better. You say, duh. Of course he did. Matthew chapter 6, starting in verse 19. Matthew chapter 6, where lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. So where should our focus be? Kind of like Abraham, right? He went to that land of Canaan looking forward to a what? A place with foundations built by God, right? That eternal home. That's where his real hope was. How about for us? So, what can we lose when our treasure's in heaven? Nothing. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. But if thine eye be evil, thy whole body shall be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in thee be darkness, how great is that darkness? When we start clouding our eyes, our perceptions, we start clouding our minds with the things of this world, start looking for it for security, looking for it for peace, look to it for what becomes darkness in us. That's why we do stupid stuff like Abraham did, right? Where did this plan come from? To call Sarah his sister. It came from a dark mind, right? Clouded by fears, clouded by things of this world. He says that should not be. No man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and the things of this world. Mammon, right? And this is what we got to let go of what? Let go of the security of this world, let go of the fears of this world, let go of our reliance on the things of this world, and hold on to who? Hold on to God. In fact, he says, therefore, take no thought of your life, what you shall eat or what you shall drink, nor for your body what you shall put on. Is not life more than meat, and the body more than clothes? In other words, what? Don't worry. Don't fear. Don't fear what's going to happen. Will you have what you need? God will take care of you, right? Behold, the fowls of the air, for they sow not, neither do they reap, nor gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feedeth them. Are you not much better than they? And later on, he's going to note that, right? We are better than many sparrows, right? And if God takes care of the things of this world, will he take care of us? Which of you, by taking thought, can add 1 cubit unto a stature? You ever want to be taller or shorter? Did staying up at night and worrying about it or thinking about it change anything? And that's just one area. How many areas of our life we say, oh, if this was better, if this was better. You stayed up all night thinking about it. Did that really change anything? You're just what? Tired. Grumpy. That change anything. And why take you thought of rank clothes? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They toil not, neither do they spin. And yet I say unto you that even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. And what happens to those things? What happens to hydrangeas when we have 2 weeks of heat? You guys notice them? They faded fast. I told you, go out there and clip them now, but they ain't gonna last. Wherefore, if God so clothe the grass of the field, which is today and tomorrow is cast into the oven, shall not much more clothe you, O ye of little what? Faith. Have faith in God. He will take care of you. Have no fears. No fears that he won't provide or fears that somebody will take away. Just focus on storing up your treasures in heaven. Therefore, take no thought saying, what shall we eat, or what we should drink, or wherewithal shall we be clothed? For after these things do the Gentiles seek. This is what the world seeks, right? This is what they care about. For your heavenly Father knows that you have need of all these things. That part is so important. Because if all he said is, don't worry about it, don't worry about it, don't worry about it, how many would worry about it? Because it never said he'd actually do anything about it. But what does he say? He knows what you need, right? He knows what you need, and will he take care of you? Because he is what? Our Father. Your heavenly Father knows what you need. Therefore, what do we do? But seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you. That's whose promise? God's promise. So don't worry. Take therefore no thought for tomorrow. For the morrow shall take thought for the things of itself. Sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof. It's kind of a tough way to end there. It's like, yeah, tomorrow may be terrible. But who's already there? Who already knows how he's going to take care of you? So don't do like they did. They did not let go of their fears. They let their fears run amok, worst case scenarios, and then try to solve it themselves. Instead, they should have just trusted in God. Right? So, what do we need to do? Remember, then let go. Okay? Remember what? 2 things in Isaiah. Let's go to Isaiah. 2 wonderful verses in Isaiah. Put these on your fridge. This one's hanging over our church door as you leave. Isaiah 41:10. It starts with these wonderful words, fear thou not. Do not fear. For I, God, am with you. Be not dismayed. Don't get discouraged. For I am your God. I will strengthen you. Yea, I will help you. Yea, I will uphold you with the right hand of my righteousness. That's an awesome statement, isn't it? Do not fear, because why? He is our God. He is with us. He will help us. He will strengthen us. He will lift us up with his right hand of righteousness. Right? Who can defeat righteousness? Nobody, right? So, remember that. If you go into a situation, the fears and the worries and start attacking you, and you don't know what to do, and you're going to start coming with your own plans to try to solve it, just stop and remember who God is, that he is our God, and he has promised to be with us and take care of us and help us all along the way, and then just let go of the fears and hold on to him. In fact, let's go to 12:2, Isaiah 12:2, last place tonight. We can sing it. And I want to sing. Behold the Lord of my salvation. That's the verse. Isaiah chapter 12, verse 2. Behold, God is my what? Salvation. Should Abraham have remembered that? Yeah. I will trust and not be afraid. For the Lord, Yehovah, right? Lord God, is my strength and my song. I love that part, don't you? He's not just my strength, but he gives joy to my heart. He also is become my salvation, right? He will take care of his children, right? So, let's go of the fear and hold on to God. A, D. How you doing? Kind of grade would God give you on these things? Let go of the world's ideas of security and the things of this world and trust in God. And let go of the fears and things that attack us and just hold on to God. All right? And we all done with Abraham and Sarah? No, we got a long way to go. A lot more things to let go. We'll keep grading them as we go along and see how they do. How many know that they do this again? We're going to give them an F next time. I'll give you a D this time, but you do it again? I'm sorry. You got to at least learn from your mistakes. But again, how many times have we done that? We get through it and we realize, boy, that was really dumb, the fear and worry, all that stuff. God took care of everything. It was awesome. And the next time it comes up, it's like, oh! We're human, right? So we have to learn to let go. Let go of these things and let God handle it, right? He will. Let's pray.